Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, go ahead. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. I let singing and just found out I was muted. So let's start all over, Asatar. I'll give you something better. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. Go Cheryl, it's your birthday. Go Toothless, it's your birthday. Go Cheryl, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to me. 66 years and many more. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. I'm glad to be here tonight, even though I don't feel well at all. I have a problem with my left legs, my sciatica nerves. And so if you know anything about the sciatica, then you should know about the pain of that nerve. But because I was off all last week, I decided to come back with a bang. Now, I hear some people looking for me, and I don't understand why. But I just want you to understand that the Silverback production has something to say to you. And let's hope you enjoy it. Now, for my newcomers that's listening, there are some people that refuse to leave me alone. I don't give them the time of day, but I do things in my timing. And I love when people think that they can take you off your square. No, I stand on all four corners of my square, and no one takes me off. I realize anything we do is a decision that we make. We can choose to ignore, we can choose to respond, we can choose to do whatever we choose. I choose to do what's best for me. You see, it's enough confusion and confliction in the world today. We see it all over YouTube. YouTube is a reflection of what reality is. Some of us come to uplift, some come to break down, tear apart. Some come because they have nobody but the people that they meet on the internet. So for whatever reason that you're here, I come to help uplift fallen humanity. That was my purpose when I came. It'll be my purpose when I leave. My purpose is authentic, and it remains the same. I'm not moved by little boys playing like they're men and disrespecting me for no reason at all. It's okay. And then the hood rat sisters who throw in their little old comments. I've done nothing to these people. I will continue to say that. And until they can prove me wrong, you think what you want. I really don't care. But with newcomers, you kind of need to know what's going on in case you see some stupid comments in my chat, or, you may see going down your timeline something that's disrespectful about someone that you respect. Then you need to have an idea of what's going on. But do know, it does not move me. It does not bother me. I am who I say I am. And I'm 66 years young. Boy, and I love it. I'm so glad to be here. You don't even understand. And it ain't because I'm on the brink of death, because from what I understand, every day we die. Daily. At least that's what's written. And I have to believe that no man knows the moment or the hour. When they say the Son of Man come, I say the death angel. We just don't know. And my daddy said if you was born to burn, you ain't gonna drown. So whenever, however, it is what it is, however it is, and it's all good. I'm Gucci. I've been enjoying all week. Mo 3. I have had a concert like no other. Me and my man, Mo 3. And he's not my man because I find him sexually appealing, because he is a handsome young guy. But he's my man because I relate to his stories. They're real. They're true. I felt the pain of betrayal, disrespect. People that you give your last to, they laugh and say you a damn fool. I felt all of that. He know what that felt like. And he sung about it in his songs. And I loved his voice. So I've been having a time of my life. I had a very beautiful birthday. I'm going to share some photos of a few gifts that I received. So Alicia, you are so sweet, so beautiful, and I absolutely adore you and thank you. So let's first thank Alicia for what she has done. I won't be on the camera long, but I thought I'd start out on the camera for those who've never seen me and who probably are wondering. I had somebody to hit me up in my inbox on IG asking for my pictures, and I don't know if it's a real human being or if it's a fake one, but like I told them, I've been bullied on YouTube, and so therefore I don't have my stuff public anymore. But I sent them a picture, told them to come look at my page, do what you need to do. But like I told them, I started out a brick, then I moved to a brick house, then I moved to a mansion, and now I'm a whole damn plantation. And what I didn't finish for him is I don't know not one nigga that don't want a plantation. You see, that's what everybody desire to get. They call them mansions because why? That's what Massa had when we lived in the shotgun shacks. Empress Lonnie, thank you. I appreciate you. Hello. Good to see you too. So for that reason, people can do what they need to do, say what they need to say, feel what they need to feel. But like I told him, when I look in the mirror, the most beautiful girl in the world is looking back at me, toothless and all. Trust me, I have no issues with who I am as a woman, a mother, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a cousin, a friend, or an enemy. I know each one of them. And I honestly know how to be faithful to them all. I really do. So I don't have no issues with nobody on this, apparatus. A lot of people say this is just YouTube and it's not real. Don't ever believe that. And if you believe that, then I don't think you're being realistic, because we're real human beings with real feelings and real emotions. And you cannot separate the two when somebody talk about your dead mama or make you look like a damn fool on camera and everybody's laughing and giving money. No, it's real as it gets, but it means nothing. You see, because I know those people have real life issues, and so it makes them feel better. They think to laugh at my pain. But anything I share with you, laugh, because I shared it. So you didn't go pay no investigator and find out no shit on me. You didn't go look at the county portal and see how many times I've been arrested. That hasn't happened to me. Oh, you can go find people in my family all day and all night, and guess what? They did that. But I didn't. I do what I do. And that is love on me and love on others. I give freely whatever I have to give. When I first came to YouTube, I didn't even know that, you can give $2 or $1. I gave everybody $25 every time I gave. I didn't know. And right now, as I get laughed at, I can't even pay my bills. Not because I just used up my credit. That's part of it. But I didn't just use it up for YouTubers. I use my credit for anybody. I use it for strangers. I use it for anybody that need help. And I was able to pay it until them payments started going like car notes. And I said, nah, I can't go for that. I'm going to have my medicine. I'm going to eat. I'm going to have my car with insurance and a place to live. I'm going to do that. Everything else, it is what it is. I can't be humiliated. The things you all say, they are embarrassing. They're hurtful. And you're doing it without a cause because you don't even know me. But it's all good. I'm up for the challenge. I am that girl. But I pay no mind to stupidity. We got some real shit to talk about. And we're going to be talking about tonight FANI WILLIS losing a very big case. And we're going to be showing people how not to be represented in a courtroom. Don't do this. You don't take personality into the courtroom. You don't make issues personal, even though they affect you personally. You go with the letter and the spirit of the law. That's what you go with. Thank you again, so Alicia. You see, one thing about this system, and there are so many different systems that we answer to, one thing that they all believe in is the karmic effect. Karma, she goes around and round. Yeah, she comes back to visit you. So we don't have to take revenge on nobody. We don't have to get mad at nobody. And it ain't going to hurt nobody to keep it moving. And that's what I'm going to do. But before I do, let's just hear this song. And the person I'm talking to, you know who you are. You all do. And have fun. I want y'all to enjoy this one. This is a Toothless Silverback production. I know you like me. I know you do. I know you want me. It's easy to see. And in the back of your mind, you want to be all over me. Oh, don't you wish your girlfriend was fat like me? Don't you wish she was a silverback like 3? Don't ya? Don't ya? Oh, don't you wish your girlfriend had the gorilla grip like FANI? Don't you wish your girlfriend was toothless like me? Don't ya? Don't ya? It'll never happen for you. Baby, baby. Believe that. But I just had to come up with that little song since, you know, everybody wants to call me a silverback. They don't know that's what 3 is called, a silverback. So I'm a member of the silverback team. Trust me, I am. And that's on gang. And I ain't no gang member. But like I said, Mo3 had us 60-something-year-old women run around here talking about gang. On gang. We don't know what the hell we talking about. We just sang in the song. That's how we like our rapper. And now Young Thug and them are on trial for being creative and singing a song. It's unbelievable what will be used against you. We're at war, people. Biological, chemical, psychological, physical, spiritual warfare. And we need to teach our babies the truth. That's why I came to YouTube. But whosoever will, everybody ain't with this. I've been here 3 years and I'm at 1,800 and I'm so very grateful because I started out with 3. I've seen people be here for 3 months. Started out with nothing. And now they 10 and 20,000 strong. So people go where they want, what they like. And if I can help you in any way, I'm grateful for those that return to see me or the newcomers that hear me for the first time. I change not. Mine is going to pretty much remain the same. And it's about uplifting people, mainly our people, Asiatic people. Although I know for me it's only one race, and that's the human race. But everybody is not being marginalized. Well, they're putting other groups, marginalizing them with the whole race, as they call it, of people. But it's a whole nation and nationality of people. Because again, it's only one race, and that's the human race. When they took the mother out of the Trinity, that's when life started changing, because only a woman gives life. And Lord knows I lived my life as a devout Christian for a very long time until I started learning who we were before we were slaves. Now I know a little bit about us and how we believe and how we think and how we feel. And we all acknowledge the divinity of the all. I don't think it's a person that doesn't. Even the atheists, they say. They acknowledge something, trust me. Because we know it's something outside of us. But everything that normally happens to us, it happens to us because of what I call the U factor. Either you're going to move forward, or you're going to move backward, or you're going to remain stagnant. That choice is yours, and yours alone. Even when you go to court, no matter how you have to be represented, because the court actually, when you're in there, everybody is reduced to paper. And that's why you have to have a representative unless you go in your own person. And that's propria persona. Because the court don't talk to humans. That's why you can't talk and the attorney speaks for you. I'm not an attorney. I do not give legal advice. I share what I read. I tell you what I would do if I were you. Or let's say it like this, if it were me. But when it comes down to it, not even the best legal mind in the world can decide your fate. That decision is left to you and only you. All they can do is give you the best suggestions that may yield a good, outcome for you. But ultimately, you have to make the decisions for your life. And you can make some good ones, and you can make some bad ones. The choice is yours. It is really sad what's going on, the Young Thug trial. We don't know what's going to happen. The judge asked, did they want a trial without prejudice? No, they want a trial with prejudice. They want to end it with prejudice, never to be done again. There is a thing in the Sixth Amendment. It's called double jeopardy. I talked about the trial penalty. The trial penalty is to get people to take plea bargains and take away your right. Because when you are the accused, you have a right to confront your accuser, and then your accuser have to prove that you did whatever they accused you of doing. Unfortunately, the systems in which we live work the total opposite. And I'm going to show tonight my shero, Ashley Merchant, and my hero, her husband, where they show how FANI WILLIS them used the law against them and tried to say they bullied them, which they didn't. Hey, Auntie Fee, I just saw you. I have it. Hi, Bridget Williams, Keisha E. I have it on my phone so I can try to see the chat while I'm here. But I just want y'all to understand that it's a real enemy out here that we all need to be coming together and trying to make it work. There's no reason why YouTube is as money making as it is. We all got to tear each other down so don't nobody get paid when we could all work together and everybody get paid. It happens in every sector. You see people hooking up, supporting one another. One of the biggest supporters I've ran into is Cat Not Williams. But that lady is a beautiful soul. If there is such a thing, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, in the thought of the mind or the heart of the individual. But she's always eager to share. She not only shares and talk about your stuff, she even comes visit your chats. And she's a big YouTuber. According to our statistics, she's not a million subscriber. But she's over 25,000 now. And a lot of people that watch Cat and Flesh of the Gods, those individuals, they look at court shows. So they're really interested in that. So I understand. Oh, thank you, Fee. I understand when people don't come back. Because I don't stay on just one thing. I do Toothless. That's what I came here to do, me. I came to share me. And just so happened 1,800 of you people love me. And I appreciate that. I truly do. Let me thank Auntie Fee and so Alicia again.
Your face. Just to remove the excess water. Now she's coming
This
out.
is how you do it.
Thank you.
My Regina M., forgive me. I saw you a moment ago. You told me that you were driving. So please forgive me. When I sing Auntie Fee, my mind just kind of, fell off the map. Auntie Fee and I go way back from the very beginning of me being on YouTube. And Regina, you know that because you was there too. So please forgive me. I see you. Yes, I do. I see you. And I appreciate everybody for being here. But I'm going to go off camera now. I'm going to start with showing y'all a few of my beautiful gifts that I received. And then I'll go into Miss Merchant. But again, thank everybody for the birthday wishes, the birthday gifts. I appreciate that. One of the fears that one have, and I know it's true not only for me, but for others as well, because I've had this conversation. My mom passed at the age of 65, going into her 66th birthday. So one of the fears that I had was first making it to 65 and then seeing 66, because my mom wasn't able to see 66. Now, her mother lived to 104, but my mom made it to 65. So that was a innate fear, I would say. And it's conscious, but subconscious. You're kind of aware of it, but you kind of suppress it, but it always creeps up. And so that was something that I was actually dealing with emotionally as well. That was another reason I chose not to even come on last week, period. I was going through some pain in my sciatica and then my mental. And I believe in taking care of yourself in whatever way you take care of yourself. Authenticity is the best gift you can give anybody. No matter what your authenticity is, just be authentically you. Somebody, somewhere, will accept it. Somebody loves you, baby. You may not believe it. Oh, somebody loves you, baby. And they need you too. Somebody wants you, baby. You might not have found them. Oh, somebody wants you, baby. And Patty said that somebody is me. So I appreciate every last one of you all for being here for me. Asator, by far, my greatest cheerleader. I mean, for real though. I cannot thank him enough. And he said to me, Toothless, you think that I do so much for you, but you honestly don't know what you do for me. And that's true of all of us in our relationships. And that's what I love about us. We have real human relationship, real human conversations, things that matter. It's people going through some rough stuff every day. I've been trying to help this lady going through her son fighting for the grandbaby. I had to let it go because it was causing me pain. Hey, Kelly G, thank you so much. And let me say, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Bridget. She said, Miss Fearless. And I received that. I really do. Thank you so very much. But you know one thing, Bridget, that I learned, and I read the book, but I learned to do it. And I thought I never would. And that's feel the fear and do it anyway. Whatever it is that you're afraid of, but you want to get something done or you want to do something, feel the fear and do it anyway. See, one of the reasons I can't envy anybody that's making a lot of money and gets a lot of super chats and a lot of people buy their members and all like that, because I'm not willing to do what those people do. And my mama taught me that. She said, envy no one for what they have, because you might not want to pay the price they're willing to pay. And so if you know yourself, and you know you ain't willing to do that, how the hell are you going to be envying and getting mad and putting down somebody that's putting in the work? Because whatever you have, you got to get it. Again, you factor. And if you don't do it, there is by chance, happenstance, maybe that somebody will come along and give you something that you don't feel you deserve or you didn't do anything for. You can call that for me a blessing. I used to use blessing until I found that blessing comes from, in etymology, the sacrificing of blood. Well, I heard that was already atoned for, so I don't know if that's true or false, but what I do know today is I just choose to be blissful, which is happy. You know, they say God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. God and good mean one and the same. So it has to be. That's where God came from, the word good. So I understand things a little bit different than what I did when I first entered into this realm. My son going off to college is what helped me become the me that I am today. I call him my counterbalance. I'm the drama queen and he's real cool, calm, and collected. Although he can get loud and talk like his mom, but he's normally real calm, cool, and collected. And he's not going to say too much. But when he does, he's like E.F. Hutton. People listen. He speaks well. And so I had a beautiful day yesterday. I just kind of lounged around, like I said, because my leg hurt. And it hurts for me to walk. And it feels like my left thigh is like just tearing apart when I put pressure on it to walk. But I understand. I've been sitting here, y'all, eating. And I drink tea. My nephew makes this tea, and the tea is so good. I drink tea like a crack addict, as they call us, smoke crack. That tea be so good. Really, I'm like a teaaholic. And I almost can't stop until the picture is gone. Now, I know I need to do better, and I even know what to do to lose a pound or two. But sometimes, you just ought to do what you want to do, because, again, the next minute is not promised to you. And if somebody think because this happened and that happened and you're no longer with us, hey, now it was written that we have appointed once to die. That's what we were told. That's what we were told. We were told that our days are ordered and numbered. And we were told the only way that we could lengthen those days is to be respectful to our mothers and fathers. And then it was even also written that our mothers and fathers shouldn't provoke us into wrath, where we would want to be disrespectful. And as you had parents that loved you and taught you right from wrong, they taught you to respect all people, starting with yourself. And if you didn't get that, because some of us didn't get that, then you met somebody along the way that found you valuable. And maybe you didn't understand when they was telling you who you were and what you would be. Maybe because some of us don't know the love of a mother, a love of a father, a love of siblings. We have people that don't even like each other. I mean, literally don't like each other. But if you remember, the first unaliving, as they love to say, was two brothers. So now, if we are to believe that's true, why do we find it so reprehensible to hear about people doing the things they're doing now? What have we done different to change it? What have we done? What are we teaching our children? Are we teaching our children? And it doesn't necessarily it doesn't have to be the system way, but you know that they need to know. They need to know how to speak. They need to know how to spell. And spell are just that, spells. But if you learn the origin of the word, then you can learn to choose a different word. I'm all about you advancing, but you gotta want to. I can't want it more than you do. And what I learned is everybody don't want it. So I gotta let that go and let you choose your route as I continue on my path. So again, I'm going to stop there because Pastor Toy going to tell me, Toothless, you said you're going to show the pictures an hour ago and you've been going off camera and you haven't. Because he will call me to task. He said the other day that I was his compass. I help him with his morality and to bring him back to who he is. And he does the same for me. So Alicia comforts me as I comfort her. And I want y'all to lift her up and her family. She has a cousin that's been missing for 3 years. Literally, I used to look at movies on the Investigation Discovery Channel of disappeared. And people lose their family members never to return. And that has happened to her family. And that's when she came to YouTube to get the word out, seeking help. No Limit Soldier. A praying woman. A believing woman. Beautiful young woman. But we've all been through something. And we all could say something that could make somebody feel better if we chose to. Even the bullies out here that keeps the confusion, they've gone through stuff. So I look at those people through their pain. That's why they really don't bother me. They think they really saying stuff. They're just dastardly and nasty and ugly. But it doesn't bother me. It saddens me that they don't have love. They don't know self-worth. And they certainly don't know self-love. They don't. They don't. I was looking at Instagram the other day, and I want to acknowledge the Cash App that just came through. Thank you very much. I feel humbled and honored, so if I get to crying, y'all just know I'm a big crybaby and I'm dramatic. I told y'all that I really am. And it doesn't take a lot to please me, but A workman is worthy of their hire, and when you put in the work, you hope to get something out of it. If I get nothing but somebody, when I'm just about to say, just fuck this, I don't want to do this no more. These people hard-headed, they not listening. Somebody new will come in my chat or come in my comments and say thank you for what you do. I like your perspective and the way you share it. And sometimes it just feels like nobody cares or are listening. And everybody love to talk about the 2 people in my chat or the 3 people in my chat. That's all it takes. I told y'all sometimes I'm the only one in my chat, but I come live. I've done it for almost 3 years. Used to be every Sunday, then Tuesday, and now I moved it to Wednesday, so Sundays and Wednesdays. But y'all, I keep telling y'all, I've been stuck in China and Korea, and I think somebody thought I was really in those countries, but no, I was not in the countries of any of those republics. I be on YouTube looking at the movies that they have out now, and I'm hooked on them like children are hooked on phonics. I really, really, really love watching them. And it's sometimes I'll be watching so hard, I'm sorry, I forget to even come on. Because, the lessons and the humor, it sometimes take you away from your reality. Because people don't really understand. Everybody's going through something. You just don't know what that is that the people are going through. And unfortunately, my phone is ringing, but she doesn't know that I'm live. So give me a moment, because I know why she's calling. Thank y'all. That was a birthday wish. I thought I had my phone turned where I wouldn't hear it ring or whatever, but I just had it turned down. But I really don't know what I was saying before I answered the phone, but whatever I was saying, it's just really about us learning. But I think I was telling you about my movies and how sometimes I forget that it's time for me to go on because I'm so caught up. It's amazing because now when you hear them talk about the lawsuit where they wanted to take TikTok off because they showed this for their children and this for our children, and then we have to really say, whose fault is that? And because they only allow our children to do the things that they do and say what they say, then we have the ability to not allow our children to engage. So we have to take responsibility for our own. Man, I ain't going to even answer that one. You're probably going to come in the chat or whatever, but I'm on live. And I thank you. So here I go, y'all. I haven't been to China and I haven't been to Korea. I can tell you my niece and nephew have been to China. And my ex-sister-in-law, I can tell you that she lived in Korea on the military base. And she taught special needs children. And she counseled families. But I'm just talking about the movies, how they show all of the girls and the boys are mainly virgins. And sometimes they all be just about to kiss, but something always happened to keep them from kissing. Yeah, some of this stuff be so funny. I'm not lying. I be in here talking to myself, laughing, and I know Phyllis think I'm crazy. And I got my nephew and my cousin who's retired. It's a him, and he's Semper Fidelis. He's a real full metal jacket Marine. I got them looking at these movies. And we literally have conversations about them. Y'all should check them out if you ever see one on your timeline. Sometimes they have the virtuous girl going through too much, and it gets a little, monotonous. But other than that, I really enjoy them. It's time for us to make a change. We need to start doing something different. There is a lady called Empress, and she's always in Cat's chat and Infamous Sylvia's chat. And she did a peaceful protest Friday for YSL. And that was awesome. A lot of us talk a good game, but we're not going to do nothing. And that's kind of like me. The only thing I really do is I'll help advocate for people. But other than that, I have a beautiful set of ideas, but I ain't going to do nothing with them. I'm not going to carry them out, especially now. Hello. Is that Prodigal has returned? Oh, thank you for dropping in. I appreciate you. But I have a lot of beautiful ideas, and I can motivate you into doing things. But for me, I am a person. I'm a Scorpio, number one. And I don't know if y'all know anything about Scorpios, and especially October born. A lot of October born are very famous people. So you can choose to be, again, it's your choice. You can choose to go to the highest mountaintop, or you can be like me. And a lot of that came from the pain of growing up. Because, see, when we grew up as children, we were pretty much suppressed. There was many things we couldn't say, we couldn't do. The adults didn't allow that. And we knew our place. And then when you leave their home, now you're out here trying to make a home and trying to find your place. But you pretty much have been shaped. Some of us break out of the cocoon. And that's how we get to learn different things. And we get to see things that people don't see. I'm very intuitive. I don't read minds and all that, But I was gifted with the gift of people. Not just gab, people. Rarely do you catch people that don't like me from the onset. And it was like that on YouTube. They did not like me from the onset. They went with a bully and turned. And that's okay. Because life is about change. It really is. It can change for the good. It can change for the not so good. But as sure as you live, and the old folks used to say here in Texas, just keep a living. Keep a living. Whatever you don't know today, keep a living. You'll learn it. So let me show y'all my beautiful gifts that I received, some of them. And I was just moved really to tears, because a lot of times we think that we're not really loved as much as we really are. But we really are. This is a half a dozen of pink roses. Anybody know me know I love pink roses. And that's a half a dozen of pink roses that my niece gave me, and balloon. And then we have this place, it's called something Bunt. I don't really know the name of it, but nothing but Bunt or something like that. And they the little Bunt cakes, and they are awesome with, you know, cream cheese icing. And she bought me one of those. And I got it yesterday on my birthday. She surprised me, she and her son. And then they gave me this bag, and it was full of goodies. And that's a beautiful purple and gold balloon, says happy birthday. And with that, she gave me a little pink porcelain heart to put my earrings in, because I have a lot of earrings. Even though some of them look the same, because I like bling bling. But they're really 2 and 3 of the same thing. You know, when you're retired, and especially in your early stages, you kind of go a little crazy. And you start, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, did y'all see Prodigy? Who in the Sam Houston is Prodigy? Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. Lord, now she gonna make me start shouting and singing all kind of songs up here. But she gave me some sugar babies. I don't know if y'all remember the candy sugar babies. She gave me some sugar babies and some creamy Worthams. And I don't know if Worthams are cough drops or are they candy. I haven't read the package good. And my niece, another niece, made me this and sent it to me in a text. And she gave me $66 for my birthday. And so this is a picture that I made for my thumbnail for tonight. And then on today, let me start at the bottom so y'all can see the beginning. On today, we have a friend, and she and Phyllis, they work very well together. They do weddings, they do parties, but she does flowers, real live flowers. And I had the biggest shock of my life today when it was delivered. And I liked Riuniti Lambrusco wine. And she blessed me with this balloon, these roses. It's about 24 of them in there. And that's my Lambrusco. So now let's go back and look at my beautiful roses, balloons, and my Lambrusco. And so my son blessed me with a positive bank account. He put money in my account. And of course, he has not given me his physical gifts. I told him he didn't have to do what he normally does. He normally gets me the latest Joe Malone. And I don't know if you all are familiar with Joe Malone, but very, very good smelling, upscale, movie star type cologne. And you can mix it, and they call it, they have these mixologists that mix. Now let me give proper attention to this. And I'm going to play my happy birthday song before I start showing the videos. Y'all, I am just so honored and so grateful.
Face. You got to remove the excess water. Now she's coming
This
out.
is how you do it. Thank you. And I want y'all to know that Phyllis actually bought all of my medications that I needed. And she told me you can have the money or your medicine. I know, a gift or your medicine. And I thought you might want your medicine. And y'all don't understand how much the medicine costs and how honored I was that she did that. Which she takes care of me very well anyway. But thank you guys immensely. And I'm going to go. I was trying to see if anybody said anything or wanted me to address something. Peter says she looking for next year for her Cowboys, so they must have lost. They must have lost. So, y'all, what we're going to talk about again is what happened is Ashley Merchant she's actually defending this young man in the Donald Trump trial, the RICO charge. I want to talk a little bit about RICO and what we need to understand why Georgia is really doing all of these RICO cases. Of course, we know the majority of them are in Fulton County, where the largest sum of Asiatic people are. And these people are committing crimes. Most of them have gone to prison. Most of them got plea deals. So how bad can they really be when you say that you want to send them away for 99 years, but you'll offer them a plea deal for 6 months incarceration and 20 years walking around free? How dangerous are they really? A lot of the people that are walking around free, that they call the shooters, are on a plea deal, walking around free. And a man who has no record at all, Jeffrey Williams, he doesn't have a criminal record. Now, he had a juvenile record, so we're not saying he didn't do anything in life. Let's get that straight. That's not what I'm saying. But he did like those people, and he had deferments, and therefore he doesn't have a felony on his record. But he changed his life and tried to change the life of the guys that he grew up with. And you learn sometimes that you have to grow and let the others go. And it's unfortunate, but sometimes that's what happens. Because we really want everybody to come with us, but everybody don't want to go. And so you have to use what my son always tells me, discernment, so that you'll know that some people you really have to let go. But be that as it may, they've been in trial for 2 years, at least 150 days. And they took 8 months to pick a jury. And this DA is grafty after fame and glory. You see, these people are in Atlanta, so therefore I think they believe this is a reality TV show. And that's what they're working toward. They're not following anything that we would consider the law. They're playing as they go, like it's a real live play. And they're playing with people's lives. And a lot of people are making big bucks off of them on this YouTube. And our social media, to be honest, they're making big bucks. These guys are fighting for their freedom. And you know, our system is a system that says that if you commit a crime, you're punished. And once you pay that punishment, your debt to society should be clean. But the 13th Amendment says that you will not be a slave again unless it's voluntary servitude or you commit a crime. So we have this catch-22. Wow, Regina said. Still on trial 2 years later and still no closer to a verdict. No, they still have almost 100 witnesses for the state's case in chief. We're not even talking about if the defense want to put on a case, because they don't have to. But in this case, I believe they are wanting to. And the state keeps trying to, what they call, goat them into a mistrial, but they wanted a mistrial without prejudice so they can bring it back. They get another bite at the apple. But no, we won't. If we must, we won't. With prejudice. So it can never be brought up again. And we want to satisfy the double jeopardy clause. These people have violated every rule, every law, everything that you can think of. So all of that. FANI Willis is the DA that everybody runs to, who's running across America, talking about how black she is and how the white man is doing her so wrong, and how all the women of all races see her as a shero. That all may be true. And she may even win her seat again. What the rally was about was the YSL and all of the things that's happening in Georgia. It is corruption in all cities. Let's get that straight. I understand that. So overstand and understand. But the spotlight is now on a city that is so corrupt. It's a culture. Just like they're talking about the rap. It looks like when you're looking at this, the gang members are the prosecutors and the police and the commissioners and the representatives, the council people. I mean, these people literally, if you go and just start looking at Georgia in the last 2 years, you'll see several big politicians have been taken down. And then some of them have lost their position, but they have not met any criminal charges. Charges that they would give us without thinking about it twice. I seen Bay come in here earlier, and I don't think I got to acknowledge her, but I did see her come in here. So, Bay, if you're still here, I want to say, hey, I did see you come in. Yeah, I know. I thought I seen her come in. Yeah, so these people are playing with these people's lives. So Ashley, when she was representing Michael Roman in the Trump case, and they found out that FANI hired this man who's never actually had a felony case, let alone convicting somebody, never had a felony case, and they found out they were lovers, then she started asking for open records for some of the things that I've shown you guys, like those 20 cars that she got the money for, but they're not registered anywhere and no one knows where they are. And that's not just happening in Fulton County, it's happening in other counties, and all of the leaders that's this stuff is happening to are Asiatic, and they are the people who call themselves black, or allow people to call them black. Black is civilly dead in the eyes of the law, has no standing. So when you're not recognized, it's because you don't recognize yourself. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Start researching. Start with the Christian Black Codes, 1724. Start with the Casual Killing Act, 1669. Start with the coup d'etat, 1861. Start with the Organic Act of Congress, 1871. When the capital left Philadelphia and went to D.C. Read the history. Y'all, it's just so much we do not know. It's overwhelming, but we got to put in the work in order to get a result. So let me start with, I'm going to start with Ashley Merchant, and I only did a short video because Ashley's not afraid to testify, and I want y'all to see the contrast of her testifying to which y'all remember FANI, the DA, testifying, and I may play just a little bit of that Dexter so y'all can see how defiant he was, because he cost them this case. Now, the law was on her side, but he literally cost them this case because the judge was able to pick out his behavior is what led to this guilty verdict, and they're going to have to produce those documents. So here we go. Let me get you all into it. Thank you, Friday. I did that music because one of the things that YouTube require for us to use other people's videos and stuff under fair use, we have to do something different to them to make them our own, because you know the copyright belonged to the person that produced the video, but we have to be able to do something different. And I don't know how to edit or nothing, so what I decided to do was do some music. And then my beautiful Regina taught me to use my closed caption. Oh, I forgot to show y'all something else, and I'll show y'all that when I get through with this. My cousin, he makes this special dish. He works at a restaurant, and he makes this special dish, and it's Cajun chicken, macaroni and cheese, and French fries. And if I tell y'all that that is a hidden meal, please believe me. And he came by and hand delivered it to me this afternoon. So that was a gift too that I received, and we must acknowledge him. Here we go, y'all.
Right hand, please. Do you swear the testimony that you're about to give the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please keep your chair away from that ledge. It's a rolly chair, so.
Keep it, is it good work?
Yeah, roll up to the microphone and make sure that you speak loudly and clearly into the microphone. And if you will state and spell your name for the court reporter.
Ashley Merchant. My first name is ASHLEIGH. My last name is Merchant, MERCHANT.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Merchant. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. And to clarify, you are plaintiff or one of the plaintiffs in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this case was filed on January 30th, 2024, correct?
I'd have to defer to my husband on that. That sounds about right. January.
Okay.
I know it's late January.
Okay. But if it's in the record as January 30th, you wouldn't argue with that?
I have no reason to dispute that.
Okay. And since we were last together at the hearing a few weeks ago, have you received any additional documentation regarding any of the requests at issue here?
Yes, we received some more NDAs.
Okay. And with respect to those NDAs that you've now received, do you believe that that new documentation concludes that particular request regarding the NDAs?
No, I don't.
Okay. And what is the basis of your belief that that is not complete?
Yeah, so I've talked with several people who were employed by the district attorney's office that have signed NDAs. People have reached out to me, prior investigators, prior lawyers have reached out to me and said that they signed an NDA and they wanted to talk to me about certain things, but that they had signed NDAs and they wanted to take a look at the NDAs to see if they could talk to me. And I didn't have their NDAs. They weren't part of the group that you gave me. So, and those witnesses didn't have copies either. They said those were copies that had been left at the DA's office. So I know 4 or 5 people I've talked to had signed NDAs and I don't have those. So that's why I believe I didn't get all the NDAs.
Okay. And were those people current or former employees of the district attorney?
Former. I think they were all former.
Okay. And did they relate to you that those NDAs were signed during the time period encapsulated by that request?
Yes. And some of them had actually reached out to me which is why I originally requested it. So a witness would reach out to me and say, hey, I really want to talk to you about something that went on, but I'm worried about this NDA. I don't know what the punishment is for the NDA. And so that's why I first knew about the NDAs. You know, a witness would say, I really want to chat with you, but I don't know if I can be sued under these NDAs. And I didn't know what was in the NDA. And I told him, obviously, I can't give you legal advice, but I should at least be able to see the NDA because I believe, based on the one that I had from Mr. Wade, that the only punishment was that they would be fired if they spoke with anybody. But you know, that's why I originally asked for the NDAs. I was surprised that a public agency had required something like that to be signed.
Okay. So previously we've discussed just generally open records requests made by you or your office to the county. Would you say that you frequently make open records requests to either the county or the district attorney's office?
No, I actually would not say I frequently did. I was surprised Mr. Bonds testified that I had made 40 something. I've made, I believe it's 10 to the district attorney. I mean, total maybe, I don't know, less than 20 in total to Fulton County entirely. All of the different entities. I made, I believe, 10 to the DAs, right around 10. A couple of the ones that I made to other groups, like I made a request just, for example, to IT or purchasing, and then Dexter Bond went in and closed it out from the DA's office. So I actually didn't make an open records request to the DA's office, but somehow in your portal he went in and was able to close it out. And so the open records request in the portal would show closed, and it would have a letter from Dexter Bond attached to it saying closed, see this letter, which I hadn't even made the request to the DA.
And so of those approximately 10 requests that you've made, what's the time frame over which you've made those requests, do you know?
A year.
So in the last year, okay. Now, when you make those requests in the past, have you ever had occasion to need to follow up because you felt like you didn't get what you were looking for?
Yes.
Was that only with the DA's office or other entities?
It was primarily with the DA's office.
Okay, and when you've done that in the past, have you ever, how have you handled that previously?
So out of the open records request, I think the easiest thing is to sort of classify ones that related to criminal cases that were pending, and then ones that didn't. The ones that are subject to this lawsuit really are ones that relate to no criminal case. I had a criminal case that I was doing open records where I was seeking invoices and contracts for an independent contractor who was working on that particular case. So I did a series of open records requests to try and find the contracts that were the contractual authority for that person to be hired, how that person was paid, whether or not they had an oath of office, things like that. So those were things I was investigating in regards to that criminal case. Most of those requests were some were partially filled, let's put it that way, but they were not completely filled. I did have a hearing in that criminal case, and I was able to use my subpoena power to get records in that case. That is why those records were not subject to this lawsuit, ultimately. They might have been initially subject to this lawsuit, but ultimately they were not something that was sought because I was able to get those through subpoena. The issue is I can only subpoena things that are relevant to a hearing that I have and the issues in that hearing. So I did open records. Let me just kind of back up. I did open records, and then I got a hearing. When I got that hearing, I was able to issue subpoenas for those same things that I had been denied in open records. I was able to get them because I could issue a subpoena in that hearing. I could not, however, issue a subpoena for things that weren't relevant to that hearing, which is why this open records lawsuit has continued.
Would you say that those things that have been requested pursuant to the request in this lawsuit are related to the ones in the other criminal case as well?
No.
They're not in the same line of inquiry?
No. Some of them are, but not all of them, no.
Okay.
Like NDAs weren't, they don't have any relation to that case. Trying to think all of mine, the NDAs didn't have any relation to that. Forfeiture funds, I mean, the forfeiture funds had some relation, but it went a lot deeper than that. The rebranding didn't have anything to do with it, no.
Okay. Now, when you make open records requests, how do you, from a practical standpoint, how do you do that? Are you using the portal from the DA's website, from the county's website? Does it depend on who your making the request to?
Yeah, no, so it depended on the time. I would go to the entity, so I would go to the DA's office and I would use their landing page, and I assumed that IT could track how I was doing it, so I was always very careful to make sure that I did it the proper channels. So I would go to the IT department, I'd go to the DA's office, and there was a link on theirs that when you clicked on that for open records, it would take it to the county open records portal. That link was not always active. So there was a time period where I was able to go to the DA's office and file open records request. And then after we filed this lawsuit, for a period of time, that link disappeared. So I wasn't actually able to make any open records requests to the DA's office during that period of time. It is now back, but I have not since made any since it's back. But I would go to the landing page of the DA's office, click on the open records link for records. It would take me to the county portal, and then I have a login, and I would type in what my open records request was.
Okay. Now, in the past, when you've had issues getting what you felt were a full set of responsive documents, have you ever had to go further than just following up with the department before?
Yes.
And what did you do in that situation?
I filed a complaint with the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Did you do that in this case?
Yes. Well, I did it, so I'm actually not sure. When you say this case, there's so many different requests that, I had about 10 requests, and some of them were partially filled, some weren't. I filed a complaint with the Attorney General. I definitely did that. I don't know which request it would have been listed under, but I know that I did do that.
Okay, do you know, so you don't know if, and let me go back to sort of reset a little bit. Which particular requests do you believe still have outstanding documents in this case? Is it all of the ones that you filed on, or is it limited to a couple of those requests?
If I could look at the actual requests, I can tell you exactly. Is that okay? I have them. I'm happy to look at them. Okay.
Yeah,
May I go?
Yes.
And I'll plug you up.
And would it be easier for you if I mentioned a couple that, based on what's been testified to, and the proceedings in this case that I think we're still dealing with?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm looking at our letter, just so you know, the January 24th letter. It just sort of summarized the request. So I was just looking at that to sort of orient myself. But if you want to ask me about a specific request, I'm happy to answer about that.
Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I believe the ones that we still have at issue, and based on your testimony earlier, saying that the NDAs
Yes.
were not still complete. We're looking at there were 2 requests regarding critical mention, which are R00272, 010-924, and 675-011-824.
Yes.
Do you believe those are still outstanding? Or have any documents that are still outstanding?
I believe that they were not completely complied with, but for the purposes of this litigation, we were not going to be proceeding with those anymore because we didn't have any way to prove that they haven't been complied with fully.
Okay, so for purposes here, we're done with those in terms of production.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Yeah, so these documents, you asked me my belief. I do not believe that we have received all the critical mention documents. The county spent $20,000 on a contract for this. I do not believe that it received 2 PDF graphs in exchange for $20,000 and 24 months of a contract for critical mention media monitoring. I have no way of proving that, but I find that hard to believe personally, that that's what they got for that money. Because I can't prove that these reports exist, we are not proceeding with anything further in that regard. If that makes sense.
I believe so, yes. Thank you. And then we mentioned that the NDAs, which were R000305.
Yes, so the NDAs, I've received, I believe, 122 to date. I know that there are more that we have not received. And based on that, I'm sure there's more. But do I know if there's more?
And you described having some conversations with former employees. Is there anything else that leads you to that belief, or is it just based on those conversations?
Well, the first thing that led me to that belief was the fact that the first issue I had was Dexter Bond, the open records custodian, had done a business record certificate in a civil case where he certified Nathan Wade's NDA. Then he did a business record certificate in our case where he certified that there were no NDAs. So I had two certifications where he swore to two completely different things. Based on that, I do not have any faith that they actually have been searched for.
So that's why they hate Ashley Merchant and fear her so much, is because she is very efficient and effective in her position. And when you are your own boss and you are a defense attorney, and you vigorously advocate for your client, you do whatever it takes. And that's why these prosecutors are playing with this social media. Believe it or not, when I was a revenue officer, we did look at social media. We looked at the newspaper, anywhere that you could find anything about a client that you were looking for. But you had to also have tangible stuff that you can at least equate to those people. But these people here, everything they're saying is their belief, their thoughts, and what social media said. And if you're a person like me and don't really understand, it's so much I don't understand about social media. I didn't know how important it was if you were being followed or unfollowed, how that can cause frictions in relationships. I didn't know about emojis. You can only use so many, or if you choose to use one, you think you really saying, I love to use the heart a lot and things of that nature. Some people think, well, you trying to go with a man because you hearting their pictures or you liking it. So it's so much we don't know, but this is what these people are relying on to do these cases. And I think I had started telling y'all about FANI and her desire for these RICO charges and how large of an Asiatic population it is. And she's doing that to get rid of a lot of them at one time. But more than that, they got billions of dollars when we had the C-19, and they had money that they split between all of the departments of a city, a state, and a county. And so these people are actually trying to use up all their money because it expires at the end of 2024, December 31st. So this stuff is not because she care about the people and she wants to make sure crime goes down. I was looking at somebody's video the other night when they was asking the detective about crime went down. Did she think Jeffrey Williams attributed to the crime? And she said, yes, when he was there. They asked him where was he in, I believe it was April. He was out of the city, so the crime went down. No. He was in the city. The crime was down. Where was he in, I'm going to say May, because I may have the months wrong. He was out of the city, but the crime went back up. So how can she say he's the basis for the crime going up when he was out of the city, the crime went down, supposedly. And then when she said that she thought back in the city that the crime went up. But actually he was still gone and the crime went up. It's that kind of stuff that's made Ashley ask for the things she's asking for, because we want to know why Nathan Wade made over $1 million. Everybody keeps saying 700,000, but we got to remember he had two partners that she had hired the January that she took office. She took office January the 3rd, I believe she said officially. And by January 26th of 2021, she had hired his law firm, which he said that they split the money 3 ways. So actually she had hired him as well. It may be by hook or by crook, but he was actually a part of that hire. So this is really, really ridiculous. But let's go back to Ashley. That's why she was asking for these open records. So what they're trying to say is Ashley is a bully. Same way they're doing me here on YouTube, they're doing it on a worldwide scale, saying she's a bully and she only did this because of the other case and she's trying to get information. And it's just crazy what these people are actually saying. And when you see them operate and function in the courtroom, it's really embarrassing. But here we go.
And then the last one that I think may still be at issue, I want to be clear, is the list of attorneys that have been hired during Madam DA Willis's tenure.
Yes.
And that was request 000-198-010-824. Is that one still?
That is still outstanding, yes.
Okay. And so with respect to these still outstanding requests, did you send these requests to the district attorney's office or to the county? Do you recall?
I can tell you. Let's see. I'll tell you exactly who I sent them to. The personnel records, the list with the dates of hiring, that was sent through the public records portal, but the department I was requesting records from, there's a drop-down box when you go online, and the drop-down box I did was district attorney. So I've got that for that one. And then, let's see, I can tell you the next one. Well, critical mention, I don't think you asked me about that. I also did, I did it to human resources. I did one to human resources. Let's see. Hold on. So the one that I did regarding promotional material, I submitted that request to purchasing. So that's one of the ones I'm glad you asked me about it. That's actually a good example. So I submitted that request to purchasing, but somehow it got hijacked by the DA's office, and the DA's office closed it out with a letter from Dexter Bonds. So I actually submitted that request to purchasing, but the DA's office responded. And I'm guessing it's because I asked for records in there from the DA's office. But I did not submit that to the DA's office. I submitted that to purchasing.
And do you know if any of these were ones that you submitted to the Attorney General's office for a complaint?
I don't. That wasn't part of this litigation, so I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I can tell you that. I can find it. The one that I submitted, there was only one, and I don't know which one it was.
And maybe a better question might be, how did you make a determination regarding what requests to send to the Attorney General's office versus what requests to go to litigation more directly on?
It depended on the time frame, mostly. So, and also the AG didn't really work. I mean, I've done open records for many years. John and I have both done open records. We've gotten, I mean, it's something lawyers do. Every lawyer needs to know how to do open records. And normally if an agency was not responding appropriately, I could file a complaint with the Attorney General, and they would call and say, hey, follow the law, and it would be resolved pretty quickly. That was by far my preferred option because I certainly don't want to spend the time or money having to litigate. I tried that early on in this case, and it didn't help. So I didn't need to beat my head against the wall.
Yeah, but there were still some that you did not go to the Attorney General's office about. You just went straight to litigation after having some discussions with the department themselves.
I only filed.
Now you see how those questions are accusatory. They're accusing her of just bullying and harassing the DA, that she didn't use these or she didn't do these open records requests as she would do for the other open records requests. And she said she's been doing this all along. So they're very familiar with her. in that office, and not just for this case. She is, again, an advocate and a great one, so she's done it for many cases. But you hear the questions he's asking her?
Filed a complaint once with the Attorney General, and I think it was a generalized, hey, Fulton County's not paying attention to open records requests. Please help. And they did not.
Okay. Now, with respect to the requests you sent to the DA's office, did you ever speak to or have any correspondence with Madam DA Willis herself regarding this?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe or any evidence that Madam DA was involved in the actual response to the open records request that you submitted?
Oh, she's copied on emails. I mean, there's emails that she's copied on, and then she received, she received the lawsuit. She received the letter about the open records. I mean, did I personally speak with her? No.
Okay, and did you ever see her actively take any involvement in response to the open records? Did she say, hey, I'm trying to pull this, but she never, or did she ever correspond with you at all?
No, she did not.
Okay, all right. So, considering that Madam DA did not take in any part that you were aware of in terms of actively responding to the request, can you shed a little light on why she was named as a defendant in this action, either in her individual or official capacity?
She's the elected DA. It's her office.
Okay, and then with respect to her as the elected DA, do you believe her to be the person responsible in the department for complying with open records, to providing responses to Open Records Act requests?
I think that every government agency has a duty to respond to open records requests. I think when you have an elected official, that they're the ones that are actually held accountable by the public. And so they are the one that sets the policy.
Are you familiar with the custodian of records for the district attorney's office?
I have since, in this litigation, learned that I guess it's Dexter Bond now.
And is there a reason that during this litigation, when you learned that it was Mr. Bond who was the custodian of records, that the amended complaints continued to name Madam DA herself?
Because she's the DA, he's not. I mean, he could be fired and not there tomorrow. She designates him as the open records custodian. That's her job. He's just an employee. Like, she's allowed to designate whoever she wants, but that can change at any given time. I mean, county employees can come and go.
Those questions that man is asking her are so elementary. You would think that they would be ashamed to ask these kind of questions, but this is what he's asking.
When you have an identified custodian of records, is there a reason why you would choose a different person than that to name as the respondent?
No, but that would be something that John would do anyway. I mean, he's the one that does the civil litigation, not me.
And if I could just interject here, right? The Fulton County District Attorney's Office was the original defendant, and the county took the position that that was not an entity capable of being sued.
That's right.
And then affirmatively stated that, I guess, if they're subject to the Open Records Act, it would be the district attorney in her official capacity. And I've already dismissed the district attorney in her individual capacity, although I understand the reason that it was named in that manner was a belt and suspenders sort of approach. But I don't know that asking Ms. Merchant why she named the Fulton County District Attorney in her official capacity really advances the ball, because they did so at essentially my urging, based on the county and the district attorney's office's position that that was not an entity capable of being sued. So,
Okay, I'll move on with my question. It's on your own. Thank you. All right, Ms. Merchant, you were.
Y'all see that the judge had to intervene on his questioning of this person when the judge made the decisions? I mean, it's unbelievable, these people. Now, this is when her husband testified. This is Mr. Merchant, the hero to the shero. Well, I guess it'd be better if I shared it with you guys. Sorry about that.
Be careful about that ledge. And if you would, please lean into the microphone and state and spell your name for the record.
John Merchant, JOHNMERCHANT.
Thank you. And Mr. Merchant, thank you for being here and for answering some questions here real quick. Very similar, with respect to this case, have you had any discussions with any outside counsel or other counsel on the criminal matters that we've discussed previously? Have you spoken to anybody regarding this case in that matter?
Let me see if I understand.
I'll rephrase it a little bit. Have you spoken to any either defendants or counsel in the case involving Mr. Roman regarding the issues in this case?
No.
Okay. Have you had any conversations with any media entities or reporters regarding this case at all?
No, I leave that to the other merchant.
Was the ongoing criminal matter a factor in any manner in how you developed either the theories or the complaint in this case?
No, absolutely not.
And are any of these documents that have been received in this case, are they being utilized, or do you have plans to utilize them in the criminal matter?
I don't represent Mike Roman currently.
Okay.
This merchant does.
Are you aware of any plans to do such?
To represent him?
No, to utilize the documentation.
No.
Okay. All right. And has anybody outside of your firm discussed this case with you or the strategy in the case?
Not the strategy. The fact that it's pending, yes, because other lawyers have asked me about it.
Okay.
So I have spoken with them about the status of the case, yes.
Who have you spoken to?
To name people individually, I'm not sure. Whenever I'm in the courthouse, people will ask me about it, generally, from Cobb to Fulton, wherever.
Are any of those people?
There are a lot of folks who've asked me questions. I could be here all day telling you exactly who.
Are any of those people involved in the litigation in the criminal matter, to your knowledge?
I'm sure at some point I did speak with some of the lawyers representing defendants in that case about the open record suit, but it would have been in passing and not in any detail at all.
Are you able to identify who those people would have been?
It's the defense team in that case. I think you know who they are.
Did they provide you any input or advice on this case?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. With that, Your Honor, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Anything else to rehabilitate yourself?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Merchant. You may step down.
Yes, Regina, Mr. Merchant, John Merchant, and Ashley Merchant are husband and wife, and they both are members of the Merchant law firm. He does the civil litigation. She does the criminal litigation. And in her quest in the criminal litigation, she asked for those documents that was about Nathan Wade, how he was being paid, all of the NDAs, all of the contracts, all of the invoices, everything related to FANI Willis, what monies they were paying, where the monies were coming from. And so he became involved because when they filed the lawsuit, because they would not provide them with the open records, then he's the civil litigator, and he's the one who filed the open records lawsuit. And because they are partners, not only in marriage, but in their practice, then they work together. So that's how he got to be involved in this case. They refused to give them the documents. And as we progress, now we're going to hear the judge tell. Well, no, first we're going to hear this lady. Elements. And I want y'all to hear what this lady is saying. Subjecting. I want y'all to hear what this lady is saying and trying to defend the DA's position and what they think and what they believe. Everything is what they think and what they believe. Nothing factual. All of it is what they think and what they believe. So here we go. Let's listen at her. And Keisha, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Fearless truth tellers. I came with honor and integrity, and I will remain that way. But I too am only human.
It therefore to a directed verdict.
Okay. I think I'm clear on how the court is directing me. And thank you for the opportunity to come before you, Your Honor. We are asking that the court make a finding in our favor. At this point, the court has heard the evidence in this case. You've heard testimony in this case. You had the opportunity to hear from our chief of staff, Mr. Bond. You've had the opportunity to hear from the plaintiffs in this case. The record is also supplemented with multiple affidavits and business record certifications and responses to the plaintiffs' request. And so there is a clear record that the plaintiff has not met their burden under the law with regard to a finding in favor of the plaintiffs. Judge, we are here, and I'm going to try to thread this needle as gently as I can. Our position is that we are here not because the district attorney's office or Madam District Attorney FANI Willis was not responsive to the plaintiffs. To the contrary, the record is clear that we were in fact responsive to the plaintiffs. But there has been no evidence that has been provided, only argument and supposition that the district attorney's office has not complied with the Open Records Act or acted without justification in this matter. We have not been negligent in any of our actions with regard to the multiple open records requests in this case. And Judge, in all candor to this tribunal, the reason that we are here is not because of this Open Records Act. We are here because of the criminal case that is pending against Michael Roman. This open records suit has been filed in order to essentially get information to relitigate the disqualification that was heard in the criminal case and to add credence to plaintiff's argument with regard to that. It is not lost on the defendants in this case. When this lawsuit was filed back in January, on January 30th of 2024, mere days before briefs were due in the criminal matter, that is not a coincidence. It was intentional to add credence to calls for disqualification of the district attorney in that criminal case. This entire lawsuit, this case, and why we are before this court is to accomplish three goals on behalf of this plaintiff. It is to impact the criminal prosecution of her client this upcoming election. It's our position that there has been bad faith on behalf of the plaintiff and that this suit is being used to harass and intimidate the district attorney. And I will save the unjust enrichment portion for later as pursuant to the court's direction. But the district attorney's office, District Attorney Willis, have established by and through testimony and the record that there is no
absolutely no reason to find in favor of the plaintiff at all whatsoever. And essentially, we are relitigating a number of issues that took place in the criminal prosecution and the disqualification motion. And unfortunately, the plaintiff, like I said, filed this suit in order to bolster her assertions in that criminal case. That should not happen. We should not be relitigating matters here. The information that is requested.
Well, forgive me for interrupting, but let me just be clear. We're not relitigating any of those matters because I have no authority and thankfully no responsibility to relitigate any of the issues associated with Mr. Roman's prosecution or that larger prosecution.
I understand the course. I'm sorry.
Right. And so I'm just saying, I promise you that I will not take up any invitation to relitigate those issues because I don't want to and I don't have the authority to do so.
I understand. It is our position that that is what the plaintiff is trying to do here. It is our position that that is why this litigation, this suit has been filed. It is our position as to that is why we have received and been inundated with a number of subpoenas. Subpoena power has been abused in this situation, as it was similarly in the criminal case. We have a number of individuals within our office that were subpoenaed pursuant to this case that is before your honor that were never even called as a witness. District Attorney Willis, the plaintiff's asked to hold her in contempt, did not properly subpoena her. It's all explained within this motion, did not properly subpoena her, have not filed in notice or anything of that nature. A signed return receipt was not filed with the court pursuant to the law. I would refer the court to the case of Harkness. Let me get the citation for you, Your Honor. Harkness versus State, 225, Georgia Appeals 864, 1997 case, which states very explicitly, and in that case, the appellate contended that his trial counsel was ineffective and he failed to secure counsel's attendance for a motion for new trial. Counsel attempted to serve Harkness attempted to serve trial counsel by way of certified mail, and the court noted in that case that proof of service of a subpoena in this matter requires the filing of a signed return receipt with the court, and the same is not in the record. It's directly analysis.
Let me interrupt. Okay, so this is why I wanted to separate out some things. So a good bit of what you're complaining about now, right? I can't give anybody legal advice, but there's a procedure for you to say that that was in bad faith and that we incurred attorney's fees or whatever associated with a party who was ultimately dismissed. Like there's a process, but right now the issue in front of the court is, and this is what I'm struggling with. To my understanding, there's never been a dispute that the records that were requested by the merchant law firm are public records that are subject to the ORA. I've never seen it asserted as a defense in this case. I've never heard it argued by any of the attorneys in this case that the records sought were not public records that are subject to the Open Records Act, separate and apart from the ruling I've made that the DA's office is subject to the Open Records Act, unless, of course, the Supreme Court tells me tomorrow that I'm wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So if they are in fact open records and the request made by the merchant law firm was clear enough that the custodian could understand what was being requested and attempt to comply with it, does the fact that an attorney intends to use those public records to their advantage in another piece of litigation, why does that matter?
Judge, I think it all is related. We in the district attorney's office are dealing with a plaintiff who has filed a complaint, has alleged all manner of information about the criminal case throughout that complaint and the amended complaint concerning the criminal case and why she's requesting this information has been expressed and has not hid at all at any juncture of this case or any other case that her purpose and the goal of requesting these open records, requesting the documentation that she has provided to the district attorney's office is to undermine the criminal prosecution. I think it's all intertwined in why we are here, why this case was filed, why it is.
Right. But respectfully, so there's two issues I'm hearing you say, and I think they're separate, and I'd like to get an answer separately. Mm-hmm. One is this aspect of harassment of the DA's office. That's a separate thing, okay? I obviously want to be sensitive to concerns that that's what is trying to be accomplished through this litigation. But we're going to put a pin in that for a moment right now. My question is, as a zealous advocate for their client, what is wrong with an attorney saying, I am aware that there are public records that I can request through a statutorily allowable procedure that I might use to assist in the zealous defense of my criminal defendant client? What is wrong with that?
Judge, I've never said anything is wrong with zealous representation. Prior defense attorney right here. I believe that it is important that we have defense attorneys who zealously advocate for their clients, that look at all possible defenses, that make sure that they are covering every base. That is not what is happening here. That is not why we are here today. We have something that is very different, and my perspective, my view, our position we submit to this court is that it is so intertwined with why this lawsuit was filed that zealous representation is one thing, but to use the open record statute in order to harass a district attorney, to file filings into the record, in this case that is before your honor, that our position is not accurate, to assert to this court that there are documents that were not received that we know that were in fact received, or we have a situation where we have a plaintiff that is making assertions that there are these additional.
I would agree, Regina. That's what she's good at, and that's what that office is good at. Talking out of both sides of your neck. How is requesting open records harassing the DA and trying to get an upper hand or uppercut? And Keisha, they do us like that. They play on us, our ignorance. And there are many people I've found in looking at this trial and in all of the trials that know a lot. Unfortunately, many of us Asiatics do not, because we don't like to read and we don't read. So a lot of us don't really understand what's going on right before our eyes. These are public lynchings, just like they used to do back in the day of Jim Crow. That's all you're seeing right now. There's no rhyme and reason to the DA's office. And you would have to hear, and I will play just a smidget of Dexter Bond's testimony so that you can understand the brevity of what's being said here. This man was so arrogant. He had the audacity in court, on record, to say that he would never pick up the phone and call Ashley Merchant. He wouldn't talk to her. She's disingenuous. He feels she's a liar. And what do any of that have to do with her requesting open records? Open records is for anybody that requests them. So, let her finish line. And the judge caught her real good, and I'm glad the judge called her on it.
Documents, even though she has been given responses, she has been communicated with, that we have been nothing but responsive to her request regarding the multiple open records requests that we have received. Now, even receiving the responses from the state, we were still met with this assertion that, one, we were derelict in our duty in some regard, that we were negligent in some regard, that we have not complied with this statute. And what I am trying to probably and artfully communicate to this court is that those assertions were made for the sole purpose of undermining the prosecution in the criminal case. That has been the driving force of what led us here, and that is very different than zealous advocacy. We are outside of the realm of zealous advocacy. The records are public. She can use it however she chooses to. But whether or not there have been factual assertions that this court can actually consider outside of, speculation, assumptions, just my belief or my thought is this, facts and evidence that will suggest that the district attorney has did something other than comply with this open record statute is not here. The record is void of that. This court actually has a record that not only shows but proves that we have not just exercised our duty, but we have gone a step further, because as the plaintiffs have said at some point during their questioning today, this situation is very litigious. We know, not just know, but it is a tenet of District Attorney Willis to make sure that we are being transparent in our dealings. These accusations, this lawsuit suggests otherwise. And what I am trying to communicate to the court is that suggestion is not because there is a legitimate basis. It is because Plaintiffs wish to use that in order for Michael Roman to get out from underneath his criminal case. The appropriate and proper way to handle that situation is to allow that man to have a trial. People have a right to a jury trial. People have a right to defend their clients.
Right, but again, I apologize if I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but again, what I'm struggling with is whether any of this information is intended for or will be used for. I question whether that's relevant to a determination of were these open records, were they clearly requested, were they provided, or was a good faith effort made to find them and provide them? And ultimately, whether they're admissible in evidence for any purpose against Mr. Roman or in his behalf is a decision for a different judge in a different proceeding. What I'm struggling with here is I don't understand why the fact that well, first of all, to be clear, I understand your argument, but Ms. Merchant has testified that she either doesn't intend or hasn't made a decision. That's not the purpose for why she requested these records, because the ones she wanted regarding Mr. Roman were ultimately obtained through subpoena in the criminal action. So she has affirmatively, and I think Mr. Merchant also said that that's not the intention here, that some of this was for a project associated with Gactyl or something like that. But setting that aside, I understand that you are somewhat disbelieving of that representation. Again, what I'm struggling with is, okay, if an attorney knows that there is information that might help their client and they are legally authorized to get it, what's wrong with them saying, here's my Open Records Act request, give me those documents, and then seeing if the trial judge will let them use those documents?
Again, Judge, I don't think that is not an appropriate thing to do. What I'm saying is that's not what happened here. I'm saying that the plaintiff's complaint and their amended complaint.
She's saying like she definitively know that they're only doing this to harass the DA. And they're afraid of Ashley. That's really what it is. Ashley stands for something. What we need to understand is these people are registered with the Bar Association. And that has to do with Britain. Unfortunately, we're here in, well, I guess you could say fortunate. Or as my daddy would say, fortunate to the unfortunate. We're here in America. We're still going under British rules and British laws, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. That's why they codify things. So it makes it too convoluted so that we can't ask simple questions. And we certainly can't give answers to any legal questions. So a lot of this is just bureaucracy. It has nothing to do with nothing. The common law is if I don't harm you and you don't harm me, no harm is done. Once the harm has been done, that's where the civil law comes in. Then we look at the damages that it has caused the individual. The whole penal code is something they made up off of the slave codes to be able to enslave individuals all over again. And I didn't come up with this concept. It's written so that we can know. We just have to, research and find it if we're interested in that. And I tell you, it wasn't until my son and I started having these conversations that I could even research our history, because all of the movies and stuff they showed us was so sad and ridiculous. I didn't even like Black history at all. And I didn't deal with it. But I realized Black is civilly dead. It's a social construct. It's not a nationality of people. That our identity was stolen and our nationality was stripped from us as a people. And they gave us all of these nom de guerres, which are name tags, as Black, colored, Negro, Negroid, African American, Indian, Mexican, Hispanic, all of those. We are all the Americans because this is America. We're in North America. We have Central America. We have South America. We are indigenous to these lands. We've been here for thousands of years, and they want us to believe we only came when Columbus discovered it and the Indians were here. There are no such people. They had tribes, just like we have tribes on the motherland. But if we understood geography, we would understand that all land was once the same land, and that's why you will find us in every land. There's not a piece of land where you're not going to find an Asiatic person, and because the land was known as Asia. So, they gave them these names when the conquerors came and conquered the territory. It's why it's very important to learn jurisdiction, because it's much deeper than what's on the surface. And if you don't have a concept of what's going on, what you will believe comes from your emotions and not necessarily from a place of fact. So let me get back to this lady talking this crazy talk as she's talking.
Say the contrary of what was testified to right here today, that the purpose of this litigation, the purpose of this was to use these documents in the criminal prosecution. But putting that aside, Judge, here for the open records suit, we have direction and guidance from our Supreme Court, and I will draw the court's attention to Felker versus Lukemire, 267 Georgia 296. It's a 1996 case where an individual was requesting documents from a public entity. But there was a line in this case that is so poignant and so on point to what we have here that states the legislature could not have intended for an open records request to be used to trap an unsuspecting public official. And we have this game of gotcha that the plaintiffs are trying to, impose upon the district attorney. Notwithstanding all of the other matters and cases that we have, people request records from our office every single day. We are inundated with open records requests.
Even though the official position of the DA's office in this litigation is that they're not governed by the Open Records Act. Just saying.
People request it. I have no control over what people request.
But if you don't give them, they apparently can't be enforced against you because the law doesn't apply to you according to the official position of the district attorney's office and the Fulton County District Attorney in this lawsuit. Just saying.
And I'm saying that people make their requests. They reach out to our office. They ask for the documents they wish to ask for. That is their prerogative. They can reach out to any office and make any requests that they want. What I'm saying is that this particular lawsuit has made it this far, not because of the merits, not because there was some type of inaction on behalf of the district attorney, not because there was some type of hiding of the ball or not providing documents to the plaintiff because they requested it. We are here today because of exactly what I stated, Judge. It is not because the plaintiff did not receive something. It's not because the district attorney is playing hide the ball. It is not for any of those reasons. It is because, and I understand the court's position with regard to this, but it's because the plaintiff wishes to undermine the prosecution in the criminal case. Use those records for however you choose to use them. We did provide them. We did, in fact, provide the records to the plaintiff. During the pendency of this litigation, we have received a number of emails. We've received correspondence. I will note for the record before this honorable court, District Attorney Willis and the District Attorney's Office are both represented by counsel. Plaintiff has still reached out, completely gone around and usurped our professional rules of conduct, our duties as attorneys, has not reached out to me. I've sat in this courtroom. When I came to make my argument for the motion to quash, the court very wisely said, why don't you accept service now? I was not for that. I was a little opposed to that. I sat in this courtroom for days as we heard testimony from Mr. Bond, still did not get served with anything. Still did not have the plaintiff at least adhere to the basic and minimum requirements of our duties as attorneys, our duties as counsel. All of this is illustrative of why we are here, why the claim has no merit, why there is no basis for this sham of a lawsuit, for this waste of the court's time that we are here for. This is an attempt to obstruct justice. This is an attempt to make sure that there is a news clip, because quite frankly, without her name, these news cameras would not be here. What I am telling this court is that there should not be, and I'm asking this court to not rule in favor of the plaintiffs, to rule in favor of the defendants, because based on this record as a whole, evaluating the record as a whole, the filings that were made ahead of testimony, assertions from plaintiffs about not needing injunctive relief, and now we're here on injunctive relief, the multiple requests are not even the issue, because again, plaintiff has received those things. It is truly the conduct, the extension of this lawsuit in order to ask for those attorney's fees, and I won't go any further than that. But all of this is to serve a particular purpose, and it is not because they did not receive documents. It's not because we are violative of the open records statute. It is to undermine this prosecution. It's to impact this criminal prosecution, the election, and to harass the district attorney's office. And as such, we are asking that this court find in favor of the defendants.
Thank you. Mr. Merchant, your response?
I don't see how these women can, with a straight face and a clear conscience, get up there and do and say the things that they do and say. But when you're operating in bad faith, you don't have to have a clear conscience. Your conscience is clear because you're doing what you want to do. But it's really amazing. We're going to listen to some of his because time is moving. We're going to listen to some of his, and then we're going to listen to the judge's decision. I wanted to play, they're not very long. We're not going to listen to his whole 20 minutes. This little guy, Georgia Supreme Court rules against FANI WILLIS. That was one of the greatest things, that highlights of last week. That and they're going to have to pay the merchants legal fees. And the judge said she was going to cut down on the legal fees or whatever. But now I believe that I seen on one of the news channels, and I don't know if this is the one that I have, that they may have to pay in excess of $50,000. That's more taxpayers' money they're wasting because FANI didn't want to let them see the contract about that Mentions Place. And it's that media company that she got and lost her friendship with Robin Yirti about. It's just really, really sad how these people, and they're more like the gangbangers of Atlanta, if you ask me. The RICO should be with their politicians. And we're going to see what happens, because who knows? It could be one day.
Mr. Merchant.
Your Honor, that was a political speech. Ms. Levy didn't answer any of your questions directly. She was sent here to say a certain thing, and she said a certain thing. I'm not going to give you a political speech. I'm going to talk about the law. The Open Records Act makes clear, Your Honor, in the very first paragraph of the statute, that it is the strong public policy of this state to be in favor of open government, that open government is essential to a free, open, and democratic society, and that public access to public records should be encouraged to foster confidence.
And see, therein lies the conflict. When they say a democratic society, all nation states are formed on a republic form of government. Not Republican, republic. The republic means that the people rule. Unfortunately, in a lot of countries, they moved into dictatorship and rulership. But the democracy is this new system that they have, that supposedly the majority of voters win in an assembly. But we know that that's not true, because they have the electoral college and other ways to circumvent and contravene the law. So we need to understand it's really only one system. When we pledge allegiance, we don't pledge allegiance to the democracy. We pledge allegiance to the republic for which it stands. The republic is when Philadelphia was the capital of this nation. The democracy is DC, District of Columbia. We really need to educate our babies in civics because we don't know, and this is how they're beating us, because we don't know the politics of the land. And they have us under the law of the sea. So we really got some work to do, and we have to do it as individual families. And some's going to get it and some are not. But, you know, it's for whosoever will. If you see somebody interested and you can gear them in a direction, they got to put in the work. Nobody can do it for them. I'm just sharing my journey along the way. And I've learned some beautiful stuff, and I'm glad I did, because I didn't have a clue about any of this stuff.
In government, and so that the public can evaluate the expenditure of public funds and the efficient and proper functioning of its institutions. That's what these requests asked for. Many of the requests asked for how the DA's office spent money. Many of them have nothing to do with the criminal case, as Your Honor has appropriately pointed out, yet we continue to hear this banging on the table about this being some sort of politically motivated or media motivated type of action, and it is not. We are here because the DA and the DA employees, in particular Mr. Bond, refused to comply with this law. Ms. Merchant and I are fortunate enough to have the resources to be able to put us in this spot so that we could actually argue the law to Your Honor and highlight the failures here. As Your Honor has pointed out, from the first day we set foot in this courtroom, you have been appropriately focused on the real question here, which is, are they subject to the act? You have ruled in your on the motions to dismiss it that the two remaining defendants are subject to the act. Are the records that are sought public records under 1870A? The WILLIS case requires them, that's WILLIS versus Greene County, it's 274 Georgia Appellate 776, that's a 2005 case, deals with the idea that they can't just send us a letter within 3 business days and say, hey, we're on that. That's insufficient as a matter of law. Not only do they have to send us something in writing or to let us know that they're going to respond, they have to tell us whether they're going to give us the documents or not. And then reasonable accommodations can be made after that. They haven't even argued that they complied with that portion of the statute. So we've crossed that bridge. They haven't asserted any legal basis for any exemption under 1872. So we don't even have them taking a legal position that they're not required to give the documents in the first instance. So that leaves us squarely on the substantial justification prong of 1873B. That is the remedy in the statute for us. There is no other remedy. You're it, Your Honor. If you say we have failed in this endeavor and you do not grant us, you don't render judgment in our favor and grant us fees and expenses, it is going to send a message across the state of Georgia that virtually nothing that is done by the DA's office in this office or any other place will be held accountable under the law. And we think they have failed to rebut our allegation that they were not substantially justified in failing to comply with the act. Because I don't think there's any real doubt here or dispute that they haven't given us the documents or didn't give us the documents in time. There's a lot of this, well, we gave it to them, we gave it to them, we gave it to them, months and months later. There's nothing to see here, Judge, because they've gotten the documents now. That's not the issue. The issue is it took us 8 months of litigation to get here. And they only gave us documents in piecemeal fashion only after we forced their hand, only after we filed the lawsuit, and they were held to account for it by filing legal responses to us. It took that, Judge, not picking up the phone and saying, hey, what do you really want there? And trying to find a way to make it more transparent, which has been talked about a lot, and which is the underlying premise of the whole act itself. They didn't do that. They hid stuff. They changed the documents. They altered the documents, and they did it on purpose. I'll get to the Ashley Merchant rule in a second, but as I pointed out in the letter yesterday, Your Honor, 91514 is our abusive litigation statute in the civil world. This is a civil action. There's no, I couldn't find any guidance in the case law surrounding the Open Records Act that defined what substantial justification for their failure to comply, what that actually means. So I had to go digging in the abusive litigation statute, and that statute specifically defines substantial justification as lacked substantial justification as meaning substantially frivolous, substantially groundless, or substantially vexatious. Well, frivolous and groundless both can be satisfied by the plaintiffs, by us, by showing that they lacked a legal basis for their arguments. And we've demonstrated that they have not raised any legal basis for their arguments. So we win on both frivolous and groundless under the statute just by showing they didn't assert a legal basis in their defense. Groundless also could include a factual basis, an excuse, if you will, for why they didn't comply. That is where I think Your Honor has some questions to resolve regarding Mr. Bond's testimony. You, of course, with no jury, you're the trier of fact.
Sorry, Mr. Merchant. Let me interrupt you for a second. So, first of all, let me just ground us again for a moment, because it is a non-jury trial, because I am the trier of fact, because, you know, we're forcing procedural pit stops along the way that don't come naturally when it's just a bunch of lawyers in here talking. But technically, what you are talking about right now is a response to Ms. Alabi on behalf of the two defendants' motion for directed verdict. And I understand you need to address each of those elements, but it sounds like you're starting to stray into argument about why you think you should win, as opposed to just argument about why I shouldn't direct a verdict against you.
And I was doing that, Your Honor, because
Okay.
I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, am I going to do a closing separately from this with no jury, or am I just going to go up there and talk?
I mean, if you feel like it's all the same thing, I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that we sort of know where we are.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is that I would still end up wanting to hear from the county attorneys in terms of their position about the substance of the case, separate and apart from the DB.
Yeah, fair enough, Your Honor.
Okay.
Then I'll focus very specifically on direct verdict issues.
Yes, sir.
So the standard in the civil case is preponderance. So the only thing we have to do is show, Your Honor, that we're more likely than not to prevail, and we have to demonstrate that we've carried the day on certain factual issues related to the elements of the statute. So what we've already talked about, the first two or three elements, we've satisfied all that because there's no evidence that they raised any defense that would require us to bring evidence to dispute it in the first place. So it's conceded. So the real issue is, did we give Your Honor enough facts to reach the trier of fact yourself to consider the issue as it relates to substantial justification? So let me talk to you about Mr. Bond's testimony. So you're the trier of credibility. I think you sat here and you listened to him. We all did. And I think you can understand that our position is he is the personification of the failures in this case. He's the personification of the failures in this case because he specifically testified that he has an Ashley Merchant rule. And the Ashley Merchant rule, which is contrary to his number one rule, means that he doesn't pick up the phone for her, and that he digs in, and he's defensive, and he's obstructionist. The way he testified is exactly how they responded to the open records request. He didn't assume that there was a valid purpose or a legal purpose and then go try to help Ms. Merchant find these things. He did the opposite of that on purpose. He did this because he linked it himself specifically to the timing. And we heard from Ms. Alabi too about this today. He, on the stand, linked it to the timing of the criminal case and the motion that Ms. Merchant filed in that case in January of this year. That's when the wheels fell off, because he wasn't listening. He wasn't trying to comply with the law. He was trying to find a way to parse her requests. He must have said it 4 or 5 times, garbage in, garbage out. So that's his excuse for failing to comply, because he decided, I'm going to determine that's garbage in so I can give garbage out. And he did that on purpose because he was not going to communicate with her. So the excuses he gave, and I think this is something fairly that Your Honor needs to consider, is the credibility of the excuses he gave. Because frankly, under the statute and under the interpretation of the definition of substantial justification, you've got to find, frankly, that you believed him. Not only did you believe him, but that you believed that they were substantially justified in relying on these excuses for failing to comply for some 9 to 10 months. Even in the face of a lawsuit where I'll get to in a second, claimed he never read, and then said he believed it to be frivolous. So the cyber attack, he claimed at some point that part of the reason they couldn't comply was the cyber attack. That only applied for a very short amount of time. It certainly is understandable that they would have difficulty responding, at least electronically, to certain things because of the attack. We're not questioning that. But what happened when it was over? They didn't go back and start to redo it and fix it. They didn't do anything like that. And not only that, on the stand, he didn't even attempt to link up the cyber attack with any actual delay. He just said in general terms that they had a cyber attack. He didn't say in this specific case how it prevented him from responding to Ms. Merchant appropriately or timely under the law. Excuse number 2. The January 9, 2024 request was not elevated to him. This appeared to be, from my view, someone trying to throw an employee under the bus. That because it wasn't elevated to me, I was not aware of it. We know that's not true. At the time that he testified to that, he was not aware that Ms. Merchant had an email from September of 2023 with he and Erica Willingham on it, showing very specifically that he had talked about critical mention and that they had actually prepared these documents in the prior year. But he told Your Honor under oath that he had no idea what critical mention was in January of 2024. We know that's not true. When he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, he tried to pivot around it and then finally had to concede, well, yeah, I did deal with that. That's my name. His name on the email was Dexter Q. Bond. He also told you that he didn't know who Dexter Q. Bond was when Ms. Merchant showed him the forfeiture documents with his name on it. It's just incredible. So he's with regard to the failure to elevate, this is, if it's anything, it's a failure to train the employees properly. Let's assume that he didn't have a nefarious reason for testifying the way he did, and that he was actually telling the truth, that wasn't elevated to him. Well, it cannot be the plaintiff's burden. It cannot be the citizens of Georgia's burden to train employees who are dedicated and responsible for responding to Open Records requests. It's just not, that can't be a function and it can't be a defense to justify not timely complying with the law. More importantly, Your Honor, if that excuse held any water, it certainly lost all the water by January 26th because we know he wrote a letter to Ms. Merchant outlining all of the issues. So to the extent it wasn't elevated prior to January 26th, we know Dexter Bond was involved going forward starting on January 26th. So what in the world justifies the period after January 26th through September and even now when we still don't have some of the documents? Excuse number 3, Mr. Bond assumed the first matter was resolved because Ms. Merchant didn't specifically follow up. And when she was on the stand today, I heard questioning about this as well. Did you follow up on every single little thing? And I think Your Honor even asked Mr. Bond, what happens if you say no responsive documents? Is it the plaintiff's burden or the citizen's burden to ask, are you really sure about that? You know, that's not what the law contemplates. The Open Records Act certainly doesn't contemplate us having to cross-examine the agency's responders. We can't do that, and we can't do that for one very important reason, which Ms. Merchant pointed out today. We have no idea how they keep their documents. We don't know who the custodians are. We don't know whether they're stored electronically. We don't know if, in this case, there's an IT department that has superior control over electronic information. We have no knowledge of that. You'd have to be somewhat sophisticated across the board to figure out how different agencies store their documents to be in a position to cross-examine, in his words, follow up about things that we may not even know about. I think the 44 pages is very instructive, Your Honor. He was very cagey about that, and he was cagey for a reason. They altered the documents. There's no other way to put it. And
to give the benefit of the doubt, I think it may still be problematic because even if the court doesn't assume that it was intended to obfuscate anything, the holder of the record can't have it both ways and say, I'm not required to create a document that does not exist in order to respond to you, but then in responding to you, create a document. That those two things can't coexist. I'm not as willing as you are to assume that it was intentionally done to obfuscate, but it is still problematic.
Right, and exactly, Your Honor, because I think, you know, he hemmed and hawed about that considerably when Ms. Merchant was questioning him about this, and he could have easily just said on the stand, yeah, that was a compilation that she put together and she took stuff out. He could have said that, but he spent 15 to 20 minutes arguing with her about whether it was a compilation or whether information was actually missing from the document initially. And then finally he conceded, yeah, there's stuff missing. And then he, as an open records officer, we asked him specifically, you know, what's your obligation under the Open Records Act to produce a copy, a true copy of the document? And he wouldn't answer it. He said, for some reason, he just didn't know. And then eventually he conceded, well, yes, I do have to produce copies. But my larger point, Your Honor, I think is the way he testified is very important because I think it establishes the mental mindset they had when he responded to these requests. And so I think the reason why that's important, I know Your Honor doesn't want to get into the machinations of the intent, and I totally understand that. But the reason why it's important is because it colors his testimony about these excuses. Because if he can't even tell the court in candor why that document is not an original document and won't concede it's an original document, that's the thing. That's the personification of this problem and why we're here today. So the final excuse that I noted was they were just too busy to comply.
Regina, this one I had to just come on and say, when you were talking about the cyber attack, you think that that's stupid. In the YSL trial, this person said they had a USB card that they sent these people and stuff came up missing because of the cyber attack. Now, how did the cyber attack affect the USB card? You just tell me that. But I guess they hacked into the USB after they put everything on there and sent it to the people. But that's what happened to them. That's over in the YSL case. The same people that in the Donald Trump case told the judge that the phone company and the phone experts and all of those people could not be relied upon are the same people who use them same people over in YSL as expert testimony. So it's really a joke in FANI Willis's world.
That's not a defense to an open records request. It's just not. It's certainly not a defense to an open records lawsuit. They have to find a way to operate within the confines of the law. There's no exception in the statute that says I get a pass because I'm a larger county, I'm a larger agency, I have more employees, or I have more requests. That doesn't carry the day. So that argument falls flat, Your Honor. So, and I'll save the linkage to the legal standard for later, but I think based, and I'll be candid with the court, there's been talk of why we didn't call all these witnesses. We subpoenaed everybody under the sun. We called blah, blah. We intended to call those folks. First, they filed motions to quash everybody. They did not want us to talk to those folks or did not think we needed to as an initial matter. But two, once Mr. Bond took the stand, I looked at Ms. Merchant and said, I don't think we need anybody else. I think he has just made our case for us because of how he's testified. So that's why we didn't bring a laundry list of folks in here, because it was unnecessary. I think the court has plenty, based on his own testimony, to find that we have overcome a directed verdict. Well, on a final point, Your Honor, before we get into the issues in closing, is this issue of vexatious. Just briefly, and I think if we go back to the number one thing he kept saying, he said, I'm not going to reach out and talk to you. Communication has been taken out. When he does that, and he does it only for Ms. Merchant, he's designed the process to make it more harassing, to make it more annoying, to make it impossible without further follow-up and constant follow-up by Ms. Merchant to get the issue resolved as it's supposed to be more informally. He forced our hand. There's no doubt about that. We would not be here and we would not have filed a lawsuit had he just picked up the phone and tried in good faith to comply. So the standard is whether or not that's designed to be harassing and annoying. And I think if you looked at his testimony when he was responding to Ms. Merchant's questions, I don't think a single soul listening to him could disagree that he was trying to be harassing and annoying to Ms. Merchant while on the stand. And he actually made it very personal. And I think the fact that he took it very personal and that it was very much a Ashley Merchant issue is what colored the responses by his agency and by him. I think this, and we've seen it today with Ms. Alabi coming in here and arguing things that just aren't relevant at all to the legal inquiry. And the reason for that is they have marching orders. Whether they're appropriate or not in the context of open records is not our fight. It honestly isn't. It's, did they give us the documents when they were supposed to? Do they have an excuse for not giving us the documents when they were supposed to? And if they have an excuse, is it justified under the law? And we think we've shown through Mr. Bond and through the evidence that we more than satisfy directed verdicts. We'd ask Your Honor to deny the motion. And on just a separate issue, because I don't think it was addressed, we got this motion, as I mentioned, just before Your Honor took the bench, and it asked you, Honor, to sanction us. I'm not going to cross that bridge because you're not crossing that bridge yet. But I also think that that's important for understanding why they have attempted to put up a smokescreen and just avoid the real issue here, which is, did they comply with the statute? They will do everything under the sun to divert Your Honor's attention. I know you're smart enough to not let that work, but that's what they're doing. They're just throwing up a smokescreen, hoping that you'll be so overwhelmed with the idea that we might actually ask for documents related to a criminal case that you're going to be blinded to the real issue here, which is, did they comply under the law? And we think that they did not.
Thank you. So, Ms. Alabi, it's technically your DV motion if you'd like a brief rebuttal.
Just briefly, Your Honor.
So I think he did a very good job in laying out what was and what wasn't, because the real issue was, did they comply? And that's what it's going to boil down to. We're going to hear the judge's decision.
Intended to reflect upon your presence here in the courtroom and your capabilities as a fine attorney. So I apologize if I was a little more confrontational than I really should have been. So my apologies. I think that what I have said several times, and I continue to struggle with, is that it appears to me that I've already said that I think either or both the Fulton County District Attorney's Office and Madam DA FANI WILLIS in her official capacity as the District Attorney of Fulton County are subject to the Open Records Act. And therefore, the response that would have been appropriate would by the records custodian, who in this case is Mr. Bond, would have been to recite some procedure that he follows or some process that he follows, which I didn't clearly hear in terms of when he receives a request. The impression that I got from hearing the testimony of Mr. Bond is that there are certain types of requests they get all the time, and they are used to responding to them, and they, maybe closed criminal files, things like that, right? And that those are pretty standard. And I imagine that these requests were somewhat out of the ordinary for what the office requires or typically handles. But the fact, and this is where it really gets off the rails, that not only was Mr. Bond not able to testify to a particular process that he follows by requesting, from IT to do searches, and more importantly, to follow up with certain people, but not Ms. Merchant, about what it was that was the nature of the request. Seems to me to indicate that there's something of a problem regarding the efforts of the records custodian of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office to in good faith, comply. Now, having said all of that, here's what we are going to do. I am telling you right now where I am leaning and how I'm going to rule, assuming that tomorrow the Supreme Court does not say that the district attorney's office and the individual officially duly elected person is not subject to the Open Records Act. So it is not my intention to enter an order today, but I do want to tell you what my likely ruling will be, because I'm going to reserve the issue of attorney's fees, right, in terms of damages that are sought. I believe, based on the evidence that I've seen, there is no dispute that the records that were sought, that the requests were clear, and that to the extent that the custodian did not understand what was being requested, it was the obligation of them to make a good faith effort to make sure they understood what was being provided or what was being requested. I do not believe that the records custodian engaged in a good faith effort to determine how to respond to the requests that were made. I also am unpersuaded by the idea, given the high profile nature of so much of what the district attorney's office does in Fulton County, the sheer volume of just media requests alone for public documents makes me question the idea that 13 requests from one individual was somehow overly burdensome. Because of that, it is my inclination to find that as to the NDAs, as to certain of the open matters, and that's the part I'm reserving, right? I have materials here from the merchants to make sure I understand what they believe, what matters are still open. It appears to me quite clear that the NDA issue is still open, right? And it may be that y'all can resolve that, but my issue really is that while I appreciate, Ms. Monroe, your assertion that the subpoenas, right, were the resolution of this problem and that they're not, that they asked for different things. I think having seen the subpoenas and comparing them to the Open Records Act requests, the reason they're different is two things. Number one, there were attorneys in the form of Mr. Bowman and Ms. Monroe who were in good faith trying to understand what was being requested and comply with the request. That was not the same in the Open Records Act request. And two, by the time those requests morphed into the subpoena that was served on Fulton County, Ms. Merchant had been educated about what it was she was asking for and how to ask for it more clearly, which again could have all been accomplished had Mr. Bond not had the Ashley Merchant rule. And so all of that is to say this: what I'm going to ask for from the merchants is a proposed order that rules in favor, or proposed judgment, I guess it would be, that rules in favor of the merchant law firm in this action as to those specific items that were not timely produced. And here's where I want to focus. I'm going to focus on the fees issue, the expenses that were associated with their efforts to recover these amounts. And here's why. I've given the DA's office a real hard time. I would be remiss if I did not say that I'm quite certain that Ms. Merchant has been difficult and has potentially used these proceedings, right? Particularly the subpoena to Madam DA Willis individually, to gain either media attention or positioning in the criminal case. While I'm certain that is true, as I challenged Ms. Allaby about a moment ago when she was speaking, my understanding of the Open Records Act request is while some of that argument may be relevant to whether or not Ms. Merchant or the firm was substantially justified in making these requests, at the end of the day, the relevant consideration is, are these public documents that the public is entitled to see? And was a request made, and was a good faith effort made to comply with those requests? And because despite the fact that the DA's office may not like what Ms. Merchant may or may not do with those documents, that doesn't change the outcome. And so the reason I say all that is to say that I don't intend necessarily to award the entirety of the attorney's fees that were sought by the Merchant law firm. I expect that I will cull a good bit from it because I believe that some of it, particularly the subpoenas to all the various parties, when it took me 10 minutes into that first hearing to point out that I wasn't going to hear from any of those witnesses until it became absolutely necessary, because those witnesses were in possession of specific information that no one else was in possession of. And that's a fairly standard approach in civil law. And so I do think perhaps there was an expanding of the proceedings, but I'm not ruling on the motion that was urged today regarding sanctions and fees, but I will say that that still probably wouldn't rise to a basis for sanctions, because very quickly the Merchant law firm got the testimony that it believed it needed to prove its case from one witness, and then released the others from further requirements to testify.
And if there were to be any sanctions, certainly it would be against the DA's office for the behavior of their one witness, who is the custodian of records, and he sounds like he have no knowledge of what that entails. That's what gets me. It's crazy, but hey, that's what it is.
Despite the fact that, you know, if it was really Ms. Merchant's intention to get media attention and hype this all up to the media, she could have continued to insist and get into an argument with the court and brief, et cetera, on this entitlement to examine Madam DA Willis. I will also say that I take exception to this argument that this entire characterization of Ms. Merchant, who again, I don't doubt that she has been, I'll stick with the word difficult, because that's what I said before, right? That she is someone who is aggressive and difficult, can be difficult to deal with in litigation, whether it be civil or criminal. I understand that. But the district attorney's motion and the effort to characterize it as being in bad faith by hyping up all this media attention to harass the DA's office could have all been cut. All of that could have been cut away if Dexter Bond had picked up the phone and called John Merchant or Ashley Merchant and said, what are you trying to get? And then given the documents. Or engaged in a good faith effort that would reassure the requesting party that some good faith effort had been made to locate those documents, so that when the representation that no such documents existed or were in the possession of the custodian was made, it would be more credible. So all of that is what I'm going to do, assuming again that the Supreme Court doesn't wipe this all away tomorrow, is enter a judgment in favor of the Merchant law firm regarding the failure to timely provide the documents that were requested, the ones that are still listed, the ones that are still outstanding, if there are any. It sounds like we've abandoned most of them except for perhaps the NDA in terms of injunctive relief. Mostly this is about failure to timely provide, and that will occasion an award of attorney's fees in favor of the Merchant law firm associated with the efforts they undertook to secure these documents. but I don't yet know what the dollar amount of that is going to be. I will say that I believe that Ms. Merchant's choice of $300 an hour and tying that to the Attorney General's office is a reasonable dollar amount. And that what I will really be focused on is trying to see if, it may be that I'm wrong, right? But to see if expenses or time spent was on something that unnecessarily expanded the scope of the litigation, or was, as Mr. Merchant and Ms. Monroe also pointed out, as to a dismissed party, perhaps not be recoverable. So that's what I'm going to be looking at and determining the nature and extent of any fee award that I make. Questions about what I've just said? Ms. Monroe.
Thank you, Anna, for your breakdown. I'm just wondering if the court will be considering any fees that have commenced that were incurred prior to this litigation.
So that's one of the reasons that I want to look at this issue, because my best recollection as I sit here right now of the standard is that certainly attorney's fees incurred in the litigation beginning when the litigation began is what is directly recoverable. I don't, as I sit here right now, recall what the law is about the things like the drafting of a complaint or things like that of positioning a case to be filed and whether such fees are recoverable. But it's my intention to resort to the case law, and if there's case law that says those things should not be recovered, then I will exclude them based on what I find in the case law. Anything else, Ms. Monroe?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Merchant?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Last thing is if the...
I just wanted to say I promised you exhibits.
Yes, thank you. If the Gonzalez versus Miller opinion comes out tomorrow and it does in fact say that the district attorney's office and or the elected district attorney in their official capacity are not subject to open records, then I assume I will be receiving a motion to dismiss the case from the county attorney, which will likely be granted, but we might have to mull through it a little bit more than that. I just don't know what it will say. I will be surprised, given Justice LaGrua's decision in the Milleron case and how expansively they were applying the statute there, if they were to very narrowly read it here. But we'll see, because I'm not on that court and I'm not in charge of that. So, anything else that anybody needs from me?
Not the plaintiff, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
So there you see, she lost. And let's go on to the next one. It's not that long. And this is where it tells us that the Supreme Court, and this looks like it's a new guy that did this video. And so I want to make sure that I give him his shout out. No, it's the U.S. Immigrants Channel. So they've been around. The ending
is to fill the day. Okay, so if one witness is difficult, then you need to have another one lined up. Let's get the jury, please.
So there we have it. It's just it's going to be interesting to see what happens. One of the things that Ashley Merchant explained about Young Thug, when Mr. Steele went and did and asked for the speedy trial, because it took him so long to go to trial, you have to get the trial going through by a certain amount of time. And so if they ended up getting a mistrial in his case, then it's possible they wouldn't have time to retry it because the clock is still ticking. So it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with and what they say coming up. I hope I'll be awake to look at it. Yeah, Keisha, I didn't know Huey didn't have one either. Regina said, Miss Love, no witnesses for the day, and actually thought she could wing it. That's what they've been doing, Regina, the whole trial. They've been winging it. They never have the witnesses prepared, prepped and ready. And they didn't have to with Glanville. They got away with so much, and they got complacent. But with this new judge, she's still doing the same thing. And what I'd like for people to understand is whenever they're going, like, doing the daytime, when she's on the bench and they're on a roll and she just abruptly called a break or whatever, that's to change the monotony in the room. What she wants to do is stop the momentum. So, like one time they were on a roll and they said they were going to talk about the witnesses and stuff like that when they got back. But when they got back, they had changed the whole subject and started back listening to tapes and everything. And I know I heard her say that we were going to do that, but let's wait till we come back from break. And they do that a lot too, to take you off your square. That's what they be trying to do. They be coming from a different jurisdiction. I'm talking legal jurisdiction. When they hit the gavel, when they interrupt, and they do a lot of that in this case. It's very, very, very important that we start, just doing things we've never done before and listen to people that we probably wouldn't ordinarily listen to, but start seeking out scholars. Or I think Google is your best friend. That don't mean everything is 100% correct, but nothing let them tell it is 100% anyway. So, I mean, that's why you study. And then you do your comparisons. But Keisha said, Regina M., his mouth will pollute the minds of many and further their unvalidated beliefs. Yeah, it's so true. And then, the DAs that they have there are just horrible. And if this is how they perform their duties, you have to question them as lawyers. And they may want to talk about the code of conduct and ethics, and they're violating them all. So it's really amazing. But I've had a beautiful evening, a beautiful birthday celebration. I thank everybody that donated. It really warms my heart. I'm going to get ready to call it a night. It's really sad that this kind of stuff is going on. And I know that it seems like I'm behind everybody and everybody is on a new trending topic, but I kind of do things unorthodox, so I just do them the way I do them. And I don't know, and I don't want to do them any other way. So I appreciate you guys for wanting to hear my version of what's going on and what I have to share. And I look forward to seeing you guys Wednesday. I hope that we all feel good and I feel better and we all have a beautiful and productive and fun beginning of the week. I'm going to end with, of course, my favorite song, and that is The Children Are Our Future. At least we believe they are. I'm going to play the birthday tribute one last time. We got 5 minutes left. And I'm going to play it before midnight. And then I'll leave with a song. And I bid everybody a beautiful night. And then I'm going to go to China or Korea and look at one of my little films and go to sleep. Okay. I love everybody. I thank you. And again, I hope to see some of you on Wednesday. I would love to see all of you, but if I can't get everybody, I would love to see some of you. Good night. I'm leaving the Tiger's Den. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, it's your birthday. Go ahead, go ahead. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, go turn it up. It's your day, your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And many more. I think I'm going to play one more song, and that's I Always Love My Mama, because my mama's not here. And she's been gone for 31 years. But because of her, 66 years ago, I'm here. And this song is so apropos for our situation because my mom was what they call a domestic engineer lately, but it used to be a maid back when she first started doing it, and she did alterations in her brother's cleaners. Her brother had his own cleaners. And so she worked 2 jobs with 8 children. And I just kind of feel like hearing that. So I'm going to play that, and then I'll play my other song. I'm always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. I always love my mama. She brought me in this world. Sometimes I feel so bad when I think of all the things we used to do. When mama used to clean somebody else's house just to buy me a new pair of shoes. I never understood how mama made it through the week when she never ever got a good night's sleep. Oh, she's one of a kind. You got yours and I got mine. Oh, hey mama, my heart belongs to you. Oh, yeah. Always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. You only get one, yeah. In a mother's love, you will find everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, you are free to dream because she sees what you can be. In a mother's love, you see the sun, enough for 2, but you're one. In a mother's love, you can feel something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. You grow because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yay, mama. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my need. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love.